Hello, everyone. Welcome to the monthly Magnus Box Q&A. My name is Mike, founder and owner of Magnus Box, and today I have some special guests with us. I once again have the returning coding ninja, Seth Byrne. How are you doing today, Seth?
Doing good. I was doing good before I stuttered. I'm doing good.
Off to a great start, so.
Right, yep.
Don't lie, it was the coding ninja that threw you off.
Right. Yeah, it threw me a curveball there.
And we have a new face joining the group. You've probably seen him in your support tickets. We have the one, the only, Matt here. He's one of our developers and partner support specialists. He works alongside myself and Seth. How are you doing today, Matt?
Doing pretty good. Pretty good working here.
What you guys don't know is we had to chain him to his desk and force him into the live stream today. So if anyone has the key, I threw it in the local trash can. So if you could help him out later after the stream, that'd be great. So just to start things off, I'm going to be mixing it up a little bit here today. We have a great segment for you guys. Now, as always, this live monthly Q&A is brought to you by StreamYard, which is the app that we are using. Feel free to drop any comments on YouTube, Facebook, or our partner page, and we will answer them live on the stream as long as they're appropriate. Got to preface that. So just to get things started, I want to give a quick plug for TechCon Unplugged, which is coming in just, I believe it's 65 days, guys. The team here at Magnus Box is sponsoring TechCon Unplugged. All three of us will be there in Chicago. So it is bringing the IT community together. Join like-minded business owners for a weekend packed with resources to help your IT business thrive. You will hear from experts and get one-on-one time with peers facing the same challenges. Walk away with concrete action items to take your business to the next level. This year's event is being held at the Aloft Chicago O'Hare in Rosemont, Illinois from September 17th until the 19th. And tickets are $199 per person, which includes all meals and snacks at the event, along with dinner on Saturday evening. There's also an amazing hotel rate and complimentary parking for only $124 per night per room. For more information, you guys can reach out to www.techconunplugged.com. And I made sure to get the pricing right this time. I didn't want to give any special discounts that I'm not supposed to give. So I know Matt is going, Seth is going. We have some stuff that we're planning here to set up an amazing booth. Right now we're trying to plan some interactive giveaways just to, we don't want to have a dull, boring booth. Just come and get our pricing sheet and say hi. We're going to try to do a few giveaways with some guessing games and whatnot. At least that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. If anyone has any suggestions or ideas, feel free to let us know. We're always we're kind of in that planning stage, like Mike said. So,
65 days, no pressure, right, guys, to get all that stuff ready.
We work best under pressure. So
we all do work best under pressure. So, where do you think we should start today, Seth? Do you think we should start with a few questions that we've had over the last few days, or should we start with our agenda that we had?
Yeah, we can start with a couple questions. I know we had quite a collection this time. I think the Amazon gift card is is kind of a good motivator, but also it's great to see some comments there. So
someone just said pizza and tacos.
I saw that. Yep.
I'm all for pizza and tacos.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question that we had came in on the partner group from Chris Muller, and the question was that he is trying his first disk image backup. He wanted to know how long should it take, and is it going to back up every single sector? He said that the backup was showing that it had done a certain amount of gigabytes of a 931 gigabyte hard drive, but there's only 40 gigabytes used. So that's a great question, Chris. And I know we answered that in the partner group, but just live for people that are joining us today and watching this in the future. So what happens is when a disk image backup is going, it will scan the whole hard drive, and it will say, if it sees that it's a 931 gigabyte hard drive, it will state that in the backup job, but it will only back up the actual data used. Once it gets past your actual data, it's just going to make sure there's nothing left in that 800 and some gigabytes there. and it will just complete. So that 40 gigs should compress down to 20 or 30 gigs pretty efficiently, and it shouldn't take that long to back up. With that being said, it's also going to be based on bandwidth and all those other good factors. What type of data it is. Some files and data types take a little bit longer to compress, encrypt, and back up. So it shouldn't be too bad, but it's not going to back up that entire 931 gigabytes. It's only going to do what's used. However, if you turn on forensic mode, it will back up every single piece of data on that drive as a forensic, just because that's the type of backup that is. So that is a great question, and I appreciate you submitting that. Also, if you guys have any questions during the live stream, like I mentioned, we are giving away a $25 Amazon gift card for any comments that came in before or during the show. So feel free to drop those in there as well to win some free cash to buy something on Amazon. I figured that was the best choice since they literally have everything.
Agreed. Yeah, definitely.
You see the latest one that just popped in?
Yep, I see this question here. I'm going to go ahead and throw it up on the screen here. Is it realistic to be able to do a disk image backup on laptops that go on and offline throughout the day? So how do you feel about that, Seth?
I'd say it depends. If you can get that initial upload complete, I would say it's much more realistic than if that hasn't completed yet. Obviously, Magnus Box deduplicates, so if you're able to complete, even if it's got like 200 gigabytes on it, and you complete that initial upload, future uploads aren't going to take nearly as long because Magnus Box is able to kind of chunk and deduplicate. But if you're having trouble completing the initial upload, then it might be a little bit more troublesome, a little bit more, a little bit harder to get that initial upload to get consistent backups going forward.
There's that one option for backups to back up on startup, but it doesn't really work as well with laptops because it doesn't work with sleep mode. Wasn't there an issue with that?
Yep. So if so that option will work if the device is actually powered down. If you run a shutdown and or a restart, any of those will trigger that when PC starts. However, if you just close the lid, if the client is closing the lid, or if they have a desktop computer that they just let go to sleep, then that option won't trigger. And so that's kind of where but that being said, so kind of to as a counter example or a counter argument. If the backup is running let's say every day or something like that, if the device is left online, it should complete that backup. If it's a desktop, obviously, if the lid's closed, it's not going to run anything. But a desktop with just in sleep mode will I've seen those run more often than like a laptop with a closed lid. So really, it's only troublesome for laptops, I believe, that aren't rebooting, with a full power cycle.
That would be nice to have a feature where you run a backup on wake up.
Right. Yep. And I was talking with our application development team, and they said that that's something they're working towards. However, it's very tricky to detect that because most operating systems try to make it seem as for most programs they try to how they put it. They try to gracefully kind of pause them and then gracefully resume them. And so detecting any sort of sleep is very tricky for a program because it's sort of being masked by the operating system.
I remember them telling us at one point as well, when someone closes the laptop lid, I think it goes into hibernation mode, not sleep mode. It was one of the two. And that whenever that happens, the backup software sends a kill job to the backup server to let it know, hey, this job needs to cancel. But the NIC driver shuts down faster than the application can send the cancel command to the application, which is where we run into stuck backup job issues as well every now and then that our team has to go in and repair.
What's the best way to cancel a stuck backup, or what the second best way to cancel a stuck backup, Mike?
How is that?
I would say my go-to is a retention pass.
That is retention pass. So this question comes up quite a bit, which is a perfect segue into our first topic, retention passes. So whenever a job gets stuck and you're trying to cancel it, you need to run a retention pass. And a retention pass makes it sound like you're purging data from the vault, which you could be, depending on how you have the retention settings set up. But 9 times out of 10, our partners have their retention pass set, or their storage retention set to unlimited, so it's not an issue. But a retention pass does so much more than just that. If you've tried to cancel out a backup job through the web portal and it's not canceling and it just sits there, the easiest thing to do is to run that. And let me see if I can bring up my screen here without killing the stream. Wouldn't that be something if I switched screens and it just killed everything?
You're rather unfortunate.
So let me see if I can bring that up here. We're going to pick on the development server.
Sounds good. And it's while you're doing that, or you got it. Never mind. I was gonna stall, but you got it.
I only have one screen, so I have to toggle back and forth to make sure it works. So to run a retention pass, so I don't have any stuck jobs here, but it's pretty simple to run one. So let me go ahead and pick on my test account here. So to run a retention pass, helps if I have a device that's online here. Okay, so all you need to do to run a retention pass is pull up the user account, go to the devices tab, find the online device here and click on it. And then under this storage vault tab, you need to make sure you're selecting the correct storage vault. Otherwise, it won't work properly. So we're going to assume that it was our Ansible vault that's having issues. We can then click on Apply Retention Rules, and that will run a retention pass on that vault. And it will see that you have requested an administrator cancel request on that backup job. And it will go through and it will delete it and cancel it out permanently from the server side if it's having an issue. So this is what we do 9 times out of 10 to fix these issues. And it's very simple. Let's see if I can make it pop up here. And then you can go into the job log and see that the retention pass is working. And eventually it does take some time because it goes through and makes sure that everything's where it's supposed to be. But this is a great way to fix any stuck job issues that we're having. Did you have anything you'd like to add to this, guys?
Pretty good explanation.
It was good. One thing I just wanted to add, if you're not sure if the cancel command worked or not, like if you hit cancel on a job and you're not sure if you should issue a retention pass, normally a good telltale sign is if you're not seeing any context canceled messages after the cancel command, then that means the cancel command isn't working. As soon as you hit the cancel command and you refresh, you should get a bunch of context canceled. Right there. So abandonment, you should see some sort of confirmation that the command went through. On a backup job like a file and folder, you'll get that context canceled message like I mentioned. But since this is a retention pass, that those messages didn't come up. Any sort of confirmation is usually pretty instant. So if you're not seeing a message, 2 to 5 minutes after the initiation of the command, then it's probably safe to say that you want to issue a retention pass.
Exactly. So, and normally what would happen is you could issue that cancel command and it would just say this one after another. And you don't have this following up here with saying that it was completed. So that's when you know it's time to run a retention pass. So easiest way to fix it. And if you guys do have an issue with running those retention passes, just feel free to shoot an email over to support@magnusbox.com and our team can go in there and take care of that for you. That's what we're here to do, is to help our partners through their backup platform. So that was a great segue into retention pass, Seth and Matt.
Thanks.
Like that worked out perfectly. That wasn't even planned ahead of time. So let's see here. What do we got going? Matt, did you want to talk about some Synology? Because I have a great question here from the group that wants to talk about Synology. And just to let you know, Matt, I think there would have been pitchforks here today if you didn't show up to talk about Synology, because that was our #1 requested topic in the chat last month. So I'm glad you came today.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it all day. But Synology is in an interesting place right now. It is an open beta, so it's not available to anyone. Our Synology package, that is. So you can actually, if you send us an email, we'll send you back the link where you can get that downloaded for your specific platform. But the issue that we're having is we only have one Synology box to test with. It's some ARM model, and the issue with that is that, well, it works for that device, and then the second you send it out to someone else, it breaks, and it's really hard to get that tested. So we're sort of at a point where we feel comfortable that it works on a number of devices, but not every Synology device. So if we push out a full release and we advertise it on Facebook and we send it out to all of our partners, I feel like it's just going to be a bloodbath, and there's going to be a bunch of errors, and it's not going to be a good experience. So for right now, it's an open beta. There's also a known issue where if you run an update on your Synology, it uninstalls our software, because where our software is actually located, every time that Synology runs an update, it wipes that directory. So that's an issue that needs to be taken care of. So stuff like that, and then a few platform compatibility issues are those are sort of standing in the way. So that's pretty much the answer, which is it's available, but we're not really in a place where it's a full release yet.
Yeah, and that's just the biggest thing is that our original goal in the beginning was try to automate the commands that we were manually doing, which it takes about 30 minutes to manually. I'm probably being a little lazy with the 30 minutes. It's probably like a 15 to 30 minute deployment. I think it takes longer to open up the SSH on the Synology box and get in with admin credentials from the partner, but we are able to do that. It's like a 15 to 30 minute process, like I mentioned. But the whole goal of this was to try to automate that, and it's just that Synology is a little bit of a beast to program for, from the way that I've been understanding it from Matt. So it is something that we're continuously working on. We did put it to the side for a little bit so we could work on a few other internal projects that took priority over it. But we are still working on developing for the Synology, and that's why we've left it in beta. So we do have a KB article out there at support.magnusbox.com where you can go through the steps. But with that being said, it is beta. There is a chance it will break things. There's a chance that it will not work. And so that's just the one thing that we want to make sure our partners understand with anything in beta that we're launching. So, that's one of those risks of using that. So, but if you need something set up, you can always manually install it through the instructions on our KB on how to install on a Linux device. Because that's all a Synology is. It's just a stripped down, minimized version of Linux. Very minimized. There's no nano on it. That's my first shock. I had to learn how to use V pretty quick. I'm not a V person. Yeah. I'm a nano person. So don't hate me, guys.
Yeah.
So any other information for Synology, or do you guys want to start moving towards some more questions? I see that we went from our first live stream having no questions, and we have a lot today, Seth and Matt.
I see that. The one comment says, "Not so quiet anymore, is it?"
I know. This is exactly it. Not so quiet now, and we appreciate that. Yeah. That's why we're here. We are here for our partners. We are part of your team, and that's why we're here doing these for your benefit. Although, I mean, I'm all for sitting on a live stream and chatting. So my wife will tell you that I love to talk.
I'll tell you that Mike likes to
talk. Let's see here. Does your image-based backups provide image verification screenshots? So I'm going to assume that means like verifying that the image was completed successfully.
Yeah, I think because I think there are some providers that'll they'll kind of spin up the instance and send basically like a screenshot of the desktop or a screenshot of like the C drive. So I think that's what they're referring to there.
Yeah, so we don't have that yet. So Magnus Box is always under development with the application development team, and Office 365 is the main focus that's coming out. We have 6 partners in beta with that right now. But as far as image-based backup verification, every backup is a screenshot, or is a snapshot, not a screenshot. And so you have that versioning in there as well. So if you get hit with ransomware, but we don't have any type of image-based verification yet. So hopefully that answers your question. If we're off, feel free to add more to that as well.
Just a quick add-on to that real quick. Even though we don't have a screenshot that's under the desktop or anything like that, in the web dashboard, there is a separate files tab alongside the log file that you can go in and verify that the files are backed up. And this works for disk image backups. I'm fairly certain, as well as I know for a fact it works for file and folder, but I'm fairly certain it also works for disk image and a lot of other backup types. And then you can go in and basically view the C drive and view your kind of the spot check here and there on the desktop or anything any other folders that you think are vital to check and verify that they were backed up. Again, you can't view the files from the web dashboard, but you can verify that they were backed up. So even though we don't provide like a screenshot per se, there is that means of verifying backup integrity.
Exactly. So the next question that we have is, can and should retention passes be scheduled? So here's the beautiful thing about retention passes is a retention pass is automatically run at the end of a backup job, which is great. It does all that stuff that we are telling you to manually do. But when there's a stuck job, you need to give it that extra little kick, that extra little push to make it run. But normally, when everything is running perfectly, a retention pass is run at the end. It will clear out any data that you tell it to fall off or fall out of the storage vault or get deleted due to the storage retention rules. But yeah, retention passes are normally run automatically at the end of the job. That's why when we tell partners, if you have, 20 devices pointing to one storage vault, this is why we tell you to split the vaults, because when that retention pass runs, it puts an exclusive lock on that storage vault and no other device can push data to that vault because it's running that retention pass and verifying everything and making sure everything's where it's supposed to be. Normally that retention pass is a very fast 5 to 10 second process, but when you have 1 or more terabytes of data with 20 devices, it's going to get a little bit messy. And I can't tell you, I think I've done 3 storage splits in the last 2 weeks because partners had 5 devices going to 1 vault with 2 terabytes. And that's when we start giving each device their own storage vault and then splitting them like that. So that's the reason for that, is because of the retention pass. Anything else we need to add to that question? Anyone want to chime in for that?
No, I think I'm all set in that regard.
Okay, and I definitely agree, Synology. That's a great comment. I appreciate it. So Seth here, he has the unofficial title of being our Mac OS guru, whether he likes it or not. Anytime a Mac OS question comes in, I deploy what's called the Seth signal in our ticketing system. It's got the Batman signal, and I just have it replaced with Seth signal because when it comes to Mac, my eyes have to glaze over because I'm not a Mac user. I'm a Windows and /Linux. Matt's a Linux guru. He uses Linux for everything, I think, for the most part, with some Linux. But do you want to talk about what we're working on now with Mac OS to improve their lives, Seth?
Sure thing. Just real quick, it's never too late. So you said you're a Windows Linux user. It's never too late to switch to Mac. But
I did 1 semester of Mac OS troubleshooting at college, and I mean, don't get me wrong, Mac is good. I like it. It's a good platform. I just couldn't do it. maybe I have to buy a Mac Mini now for these guys for developing purposes. So I may have to learn how to use it now.
Yeah. So maybe that's how we'll get you to come to the dark side. But
I think it's the light side. It's all white.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But anyway, so one of our partners recently suggested that we explore code signing for Mac. We've code signed for Windows, our Windows application for quite a while now. We've never code signed for Mac just because most of our partners deal mainly with Windows clients. But there are obvious benefits to code signing the Mac application bundle. First and foremost, when you download the package, when you go to run it, it won't say from an unidentified developer. Mac is rightfully protective about what kind of software is run on their machines, and so if it's not signed by, if it's not recognized by Apple, it's going to display that warning, and you actually have to right-click instead of double-clicking in order to open it. And I think sometimes it'll require an admin password as well. So a small inconvenience, but an inconvenience nonetheless. And secondly, it'll allow the application to be deployed, I believe, remotely. As of right now, you can't deploy it remotely on Macs because it's not signed. However, once we get it signed, we can deploy it remotely. And then it should also fix some of the permission issues as well. I've seen a couple times where when we push out an update, it resets the Mac permissions. And so you have to go in and re-grant full disk access. And so I believe by signing, we'll be able to eliminate that sort of reset of permissions. I'm not sure on that last bit there. But it should help with permissions just overall, just because it is signed and recognized by Apple. So we've kind of been working on that. We started a couple weeks, or about a week ago, I guess. And we've got we've got our developer account registered and set up, so that's all good. So we're officially an Apple developer now. And so we're kind of working through the process of making sure that we can both sign and notarize it, as well as do it in an automated fashion. So hopefully we'll make some good progress on that in the next couple weeks and have a good update the next month during our Q&A.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole different world between Google and the Apple stores. I know for like Google, you just got to pay $25, if I remember correctly, and you're pretty much good. You can put whatever you want out there. Apple, it's $99 a year for the developer license, and they will actually go through the paces and make sure that your app is legit, and they'll even log in and test your app. I got to say, Apple is, I got to say, I diss on Apple a lot, but they are really a solid platform, and they're a quality for their community as well. And when we signed up for the developer license, I even got a phone call from Apple to verify my ability or my status with Magnus Box. I mean, they really are making sure that there are no virus-infected apps out there, and they work very hard to do that. I know for like when we launched the Windows Code Sign certificate, it was a little bit of a process. I think it was like about a week involved, but it was very easy to deploy. Mac, on the other hand, we have to get some internal Mac devices so we can get that certificate notarized and signed. From what it sounded like, it's about a 15-minute process to notarize that app or that certificate itself, if I remember correctly, Seth.
Yep, and it requires Xcode. So again, that's kind of where the requirement for Mac Minis or a Mac OS device comes in, because it does have to run on. It runs off some of the tools provided by Xcode.
Yep, and going forward, our goal is to automate that process. Anyone who already has a Magnus Box server, backup server, we will work with you to get that code sign certificate in there as well. It is a little bit of a manual process, but we're not quite ready to push it out yet, so don't open any tickets yet for us, just to keep our queue clear. But it is coming, and this is one of those things. This has been on the roadmap for a while, but there was no requests from our partners for this feature, and we are doing this and putting in the work and the dev hours because our partners have wanted this from us. And that's why I say we are partner oriented. We make changes that you guys want from us to the best of our ability. We can't always implement everything, but we always try to go what everyone's looking for.
Right, exactly.
So we have that taken care of. That was everything on our list to talk about for today, but we have more questions if we can jump into them here. From Kyle Kenyon, he asked, what are some of your favorite tools for running a remote team? And this is in relation to a post that I put in the partner group where the question was how to keep morale up. Their spinoff question was, what tools do we use for our remote team? So as you can see from our backgrounds, I'm in a server room in a quiet area. Seth is hiding in his house, and Matt is somewhere in space, or in his house as well. But we all work from our homes, our offices. We are completely a 100% remote team, and obviously we have to do things to keep morale up. And we have tools also that we use. So I know for us, we use... for like communication, we use Slack. I see our good friend Riley Chase over at Hostify. He uses a tool called Yak. I may have to look into that one, guys. It's where we can send voice messages to each other through Slack. I don't know.
Kind of cool.
Every time, instead of sending a message for OK, I'm just going to record OK and send it to you guys.
Yak and Slack. Sounds like a good combo.
I'm gonna be slacking in Slack with Yak. But it does have some ease of use, instead of calling or whatnot. But so we use Slack for our internal communications. Slack also aggregates all of our alerts that we have from our storage clusters and everything. For our payroll, we use Square. So Matt and Seth, they have an app on their phone where they can clock in and out. They kind of set their own hours and do their own work schedules. I think they like it, to be honest with you, not having to punch at a certain time. But
For sure.
we run payroll through there. We use Notion as our internal KB and some of our HR stuff as well for human resources. So the team can request time off through Notion. I have a form in there where they fill out to request vacay, which, like I said, they set their own hours, but we always want to make sure if they're going to be gone for a week or two that we have coverage here to make sure our partners are taken care of. Any other tools I'm missing, guys? I mean, what else do you think we use that's going to be quality for our partners out there? I use Loom for recording ticket responses when I don't feel like typing out a long response. But any tools you guys like that we have?
I don't think there should be a huge emphasis on technology for morale. I think it really depends on what you really do to keep them engaged. I mean, it's just a platform for communication. There are some definite things you can change up, like Slack is really nice, but outside of that,
we do our weekly sync meetings mainly to keep all of us on the same page and to see each other. I mean, like I said, remote team, it's harder to keep morale up. I mean, I know for a while before Matt came on board, me and Seth would go like a month or two with just talking through Slack, and that's when we came up with the idea to do a weekly sync and kind of get each other on the same page. And it's a good thing, and I think they've been very beneficial. At least I think they have. It's one of those things where I think I'm talking all the time again.
No, I definitely think they are a good sort of like a heartbeat sort of check in, gauge the pulse of like how's everyone doing, how are the projects coming along? Because like you said before, it was just you and I were kind of both working on Magnus Box, but both working on separate projects within the company, and so it would just kind of go like unless you had an update, you really didn't talk. So I think that the weekly sync meetings are good because it encourages accountability, and we usually sneak in a couple of jokes and stuff like that. So definitely a nice touch and helps keep everything. I think everyone connected better.
I think it's like 60% business, 20% bashing Mac, and then 20% jokes and puns and other IT memes. It's a good time.
Great. Yeah.
I think next month we should book a virtual room and just live stream us trying to complete a virtual escape room into the group to see how bad we are at it.
Right, yeah. Pretty fun.
We need to add this to our list of things to do one night after hours. Just do a virtual escape room or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless you guys have anything else, I can move on to the next question.
Sounds good.
Go ahead.
So, the next question is, what are the technical differences between Delta and Nexus clusters? And this comes from Christopher. I appreciate the question from the Facebook post. So our infrastructure, so Magnus Box is 3 years old. We started in 2018, and we have been renting S3 storage space. We don't use Amazon S3. We use their interface, which is amazing to say the least. It's pretty top of the line. It's very simple to use. So we partner with data centers across the United States and the EU that offer S3 services, and we get in there with them and make sure that they're HIPAA compliant for the United States. We had to go through all of our checks and balances, SOC compliance. We have broken agreements because we found out companies did not have a valid SOC report for their state of compliance. And we go through all of that. And it's probably a good 2-3 month process for compliance and making sure everything looks good before we even consider launching another storage node. So Delta is in the US East storage cluster in the data center, and that is the one that we are currently moving over to our Saginaw cluster. So the difference between Delta and Nexus is we own the infrastructure in Nexus outside of the power, the bandwidth, and the floor space. So we're renting space in a rack, and it's our equipment. Everything is stuff that we have chosen based on what works. We use Ceph for our storage clusters. Ceph is a very, very robust, reliable, and scalable infrastructure, and it is a beast, I tell you. I mean, I've spent 4 or 5 months studying Ceph and learning it, and I tell you what, I think I'm only scratching the surface, but we have consultants that are helping us as well if there's anything outside of that knowledge or if there's a knowledge gap. We also consult with specialists in that industry to assist us. So That's the biggest difference between Delta and Nexus, is that it's our own infrastructure. We own it. We can make the changes that we need and we see fit. So right now, Nexus is a gigabit, has a gigabit available to it, and we have 1.14 petabytes of data within that cluster. We just added another storage node because we were at 60% capacity. So it is more work internally, but it also gives us that quality of service and allows us to be the ones to be able to fix things if something goes wrong, instead of just sitting there twiddling our thumbs waiting for the data center to get back to us. So I feel that it was a right move. Plus, as we're growing at a massive scale, it's better to be holding that data ourselves as well. Is there anything you guys have to add for? I know Delta and Nexus has really been I switched from being a developer here at Magnus Box to our data center operations. So I really don't do much in the day-to-day for developing. I spend more time watching bits flow through the network. So I don't know if you guys have anything to add to that or not regarding Nexus.
I'm never going to get over the fact that Ceph is like the same thing as Ceph, almost. Like every time you say Ceph, I just think about Ceph. We're using Ceph for the database. Yeah.
Seth, you got to keep those bits flowing, man.
Right, yeah, I'm manually copying them. Just ones and zeros.
I tell you what, though, Ceph is amazing. There's just how reliable it is. I mean, I have 86 hard drives in there right now, and I mean, it's very hard to kill outside of just killing the power to the entire cluster. It's very difficult. If one drive fails in there, the other ones will rebalance all that data and put it to another drive. We can actually, as of right now, we can lose an entire storage node. So we have 7 storage nodes right now. We can lose an entire storage node and the cluster will keep on humming until we get another storage node in there. So it's remarkable software. It's open source, it's amazing, and we love using it. So, but it is a beast. It's not something you can just pick up, and that's why there was such a massive investment to build it out. It's because you have to have that minimum number of storage nodes to get that first layer of redundancy. So, but if you guys ever want to talk about Ceph or Seth, in either context, feel free to shoot me an email, mike@magnusbox.com. I love talking about storage and the journey that we've made to get where we are today. Okay, let's see here. The final question that I have that was submitted is, if you haven't moved partners' data over yet, what is all the data that you have been moving to Nexus? So over the last, I want to say 2.5 months, we've been saturating that gigabit connection at 800 megs, pulling data from Delta to Nexus. So we have to, it's a 2-step process to get data and move over to a new data center. So we have to get the data that's stored on Delta over to Nexus. And so we're using a tool called rclone and moving that data over. And we've been hammering that connection, the firewall. I mean, 800 megs per second for 2.5 months, but we moved the 500 terabytes of data over. And so that was step 1, making sure we had all the data and making sure all the vaults are synced up. Step 2 is actually telling the partner's backup server to request storage vaults at Nexus instead of Delta. So step 2 has 2 parts. You got to make sure that we're telling, hey, when you need a new storage vault, don't try pulling from Delta because it doesn't exist. Pull from Nexus. And then the second part of that, step 2, is we actually have to tell all of your storage vaults for each user account for the backups to switch over and point to Nexus. So it's not a difficult process to do. I mean, I can knock out a partner server in about a minute. So it doesn't take that long to switch them out. And these are only ones that are on Delta. So, and just to give you guys a reference, Delta is our first storage cluster that we've had. So this is all old data. No partners in the last 2 years have been put on Delta because we fill up a storage server to a point, and then we switch over and add a new storage server. So that way we're not over provisioning servers. That's something we never want to do here, is over provision. And so, so now that's our next step. So right now we are currently up to the Fs for moving partners over. So anyone who has an F in the first character of their backup server has been moved over to Nexus if they were on Delta. And we're just kind of taking that easy, doing a few letters here and there every other day, just to watch the incoming traffic to make sure we're not oversaturating the bandwidth over there at Nexus. So like I said, data center operations, this is why I have pulled away from everything else that these two are doing, Seth and Matt, who have been doing amazing work over here on the back end with stuff that partners will never see, and focusing on data center operations. So, man, I just went off on a tangent again, didn't I?
It wasn't a tangent. It was related to the question.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that it has been very fascinating. You know, this project has been in the works for over a year, and these guys have had to listen to me talk about Nexus at every weekly sync meeting. Like, hey, we're at X amount of data transferred over. We got this amount left, and you know, the same thing happens. You know, like I specialize in this, they specialize in programming, and sometimes the stuff they talk to me about, I'm like, sounds great. I don't know how you did it, but that's why you guys are freaking ninjas at coding.
Yeah, it's always fun to create stuff.
Yeah, and you guys are doing amazing work. And Aaron, I just want to say thank you so much. You know, we love getting great feedback from our partners. Like I said, we're here for you. We know most of our partners. And like I posted yesterday in the group when Seth announced my birthday, which I'm the big 3-1 now. You know, I feel like all of the partners are part of an extended family. You know, we've had a few partners who have added new bundles of joy to their family. And we've also had partners who family members have passed away, and we're right there with you guys. You know, we're here to help you if you need to talk about something, even if it's outside of backup. You know, we're always here and happy to help you. So do you guys have anything else you got to add today? We're at the 42-minute mark. Is there anything else we think we need to add, or you think we're ready to start signing off?
Are there any more questions?
Yeah, if you guys have any more questions, we can I think we hit up most of them. My favorite question of the day so far is the pizza and tacos, though.
I haven't had lunch yet, so that sounds kind of good.
We're going to meet up next week for our weekly sync meeting. I think probably Thursday. We're all going to get together and have lunch at a local place. So we all live in the same county in Michigan. We all live in Saginaw County. So if Matt or Seth do something bad, I can just go to their houses and, you know, paintball gun.
Oh man, I'm more of an airsoft guy myself, but
I used to play airsoft. So side story, I had my front tooth shot out with an airsoft gun. This is a fake tooth up here.
I did not know that.
This would be a really hard shot.
You know, I was young, I was stupid, but luckily I had braces. It hit the brace and it shattered the tooth perfectly in a horizontal line.
Oh,
it was a 1 in a million shot.
So here's a silly question. Did it hurt?
Not at first, but it sure
Okay.
did. And it happened on like a Friday night.
Oh.
And so I had to get in on like a Sunday morning to get to the orthodontist, and they had to like fix it. And then I had to get a root canal, which they kept saying how fun it was. So the partners now know more about me in the last 5 minutes than they have in the last 3 years.
Right.
I guess it's better than getting shot in the eye.
Well, I was wearing safety glasses. I didn't know I had to wear a mouth guard. I guess I should have kept my mouth closed. Just to let you know, I did not win that round, by the way.
Unfortunate.
Okay, so Seth, if people want to get a hold of you, what is the best way that they can get a hold of you here at Magnus Box?
I'm glad you specified the here at Magnus Box. I was going to like make a silly comment or something like that.
You still can.
Yeah, like call me.
Right, yeah. It's actually best if you DM me on GitHub. No.
Yeah, submit a pull request.
Right, yep. No, my email is seth@magnusbox.com, and I usually hang out in the ticket queue support at magnusbox.com as well. So either avenue works well for contacting me.
You know, if you want to get a hold of Matt through GitHub, his username in GitHub, I have to look it up every time. Do you want to share what your username in GitHub is, Matt?
I think it's Lawnmower Dave.
So if you guys are on our GitHub and you see this strange name of someone who's doing pull request, it's just Matt. It's just normal around here. So Matt, if anyone wants to get a hold of you, Matt does more of the back end developing side. We don't let him out of his room very often here. Whenever I forget to put the lock on the chain. But how do we get a hold of you? How do partners get a hold of you if they want to talk to you?
Pretty much the same way as Seth, except Matt at magnusbox.com. There's a name change there, but yeah, same way pretty much.
Okay, and if you guys want to get a hold of me, my name is Mike. Again, I'm the founder of Magnus Box, and you can get a hold of me by email, which is mike@magnusbox.com. That'll get you to my personal email. If you want to send a ticket, it's support@magnusbox.com. We also have the option to call, which I have to look up the number every single time on the website because I never remember it. But you can also call us during business hours by calling 1-888-933-2975. And you can also send us a letter in the mail by sending it to P.O. Box 329, Merrill, Michigan, 48637. We also accept donations of coffee from Starbucks in the little glass containers. I do not share with these guys. No, I do. Well, I should.
Have you ever heard of the website? It's like Buy Me a Coffee, something like that. It's like a donation platform. That'd be a pretty.
We're gonna have to add that now to our website. Buy these guys a coffee. Coffee, I think, is what fuels our team a little bit. So anyway, this webinar is going to be our monthly Q&A. We're going to be bringing these two guys every month around the middle of the month. So stay tuned to our Facebook page, YouTube channel, or the Magnus Box Facebook partner group. Otherwise, have a great time, everyone. We will see you guys in the Facebook group or in the support queue. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.